Dear NIO community, I emailed NIO Global and shared 2 video links related to possible predatory short selling of NIO stock. I asked for Mr. EQ and legal counsel to be provided with the links. This was a tweet that I put out last week. I then shared the 2 video links that I offered to NIO when I emailed them, and then also the playlist, which maybe we'll talk about a little bit later. Also, stick around to the end, and I'll actually share part of the contents that I wrote to them so you can know what I did. And then maybe I'll even discuss kind of my follow-up plan with that. So let's now jump in. In fact, I want to play a clip. This is me in an older video. This was before the June 6th earnings for NIO, the first quarter earnings. Just listen to this. Is it possible for NIO to go below $4 again? Sure, it's possible. In fact, this is a video that I talked about the possibility of NIO going below $4 again. And also that I think ultimately we'll see new all-time highs. We'll see it go over $70. Trying to predict when, that's the hard part. Time frame is the hardest thing. And I'll click, or rather I'll share all the links for everything I talk about, including these videos and the playlist down in the description below. But let's move on, because this, I did this video last week, and I want to point it out for those who don't know. This is the NIO stock alert video that I put out. And what I talked about was when I noticed this. Now, full disclosure, I actually pay to get access to some of this data. And so the link that I usually share is a different one. But what happened, what was kind of interesting, this almost 3.5 million spike on the fails to deliver happened. And I did the video. And then the next day I realized that Fintel and some of the other folks were not reporting the data. They were delayed even on reporting the data. And by the way, the data is already lagged in its being delayed and reported to us. So it just puts us even further behind what's actually going on behind the scenes, or what could be going on behind the scenes. But the previous video that I referenced, I think that's one where I talked about this spike in the fails to deliver. Now let me show you this. This is the full history of NIO stock in the US market. The white lines represent fails to deliver, and that is when the stock can be manipulated. There could be fake shares that were never actually delivered. So someone's paying for something, not actually receiving it. And then folks like market makers have exceptions. You know what? I'm not even going to go down that. Just check out the playlist and dig deep. Don't be afraid. Be willing to spend some time if you really want to get in and learn more about this stuff. The thing that's really apparent in my mind anyway is the one time the yellow, which represents the stock price for NIO, it really ran, was during that time frame where the fails to deliver dropped off. And then as they started to pick up again, we saw the stock price come back down. And these 2 are the 2 that I highlighted in recent videos. And that's because we hadn't seen spikes like that since back before NIO stock made its big run. So I'm very curious how this plays out. And then if we talk about fundamentals, and by the way, we had a big storm come through. I'm in the Midwest here in the US. And so basically it was without power for a couple of days. I didn't even get a delivery video out. So maybe I'll share this as that delivery video for the July numbers. But NIO delivered 20,498 vehicles in July, hitting 20,000 for the 3rd straight month. And yet we have, with this broader market sell-off and potential predatory short selling of NIO stock under $4. So it's just wild. It's bizarre. Here's something I think a lot of people are not aware of this. So please let others know. This is where I go to get the information like the upcoming events, meaning the second quarter earnings in this case. That's what I'm talking about. A lot of folks are going by what Wall Street's putting out. Wall Street is almost always wrong when they suggest that NIO's earnings are going to be this day or that day or whatever. This is the cadence that I'm going off of, and why I think NIO will probably do their second quarter earnings maybe in the September 5th to 9th range. June 6th was the last one, March 5th the time before, and December 5th. You see the cadence, the consistency there. I think NIO is going to come in with the earnings hopefully in the 1st to 2nd week in September. One of the reasons I would like to see it happen then is also later in the month of September, NIO's first sub-brand, and the model that they're going to be selling is the L60. That's coming out. And so I think those deliveries coming on the heels of what should be the best earnings NIO has ever reported could set things up for a very fascinating finish to the year, not just for NIO as a company, but for the stock price as well. I'm very, very curious how this all plays out, how this all shakes out. And now I'll share, I'm not going to read verbatim, but I'll share a little bit of what I offered in my email to NIO. And essentially I did a little kind of explanation of who I am. Small individual NIO stock investor. I have a channel called NIOTrending where I talked about NIO stock as my favorite long-term stock play. I talked about my nickname for William Lee. I call him Mr. EQ and why that is. And then here's where I kind of get into it. During the past few years, I've spent hundreds of hours digging into things that could be negatively impacting the NIO stock price and that appear to be related to predatory short sellers targeting NIO stock. I created a dedicated playlist with numerous videos sharing some of this research. Some of the content includes high-level experts, including CEOs, professors, and attorneys who have shared their knowledge and experience about things like naked shorting, fails to deliver or FTDs, how market makers have exceptions for naked shorting. And by the way, at least one market maker is shorting NIO stock. How European markets can be used to manipulate stock prices, why regulators don't appear to care about naked short selling, and much more. I believe that one of these attorneys, Wes Christian is his name, he has never even been to trial against short sellers. I have a theory on this. I suspect the short sellers are terrified. They're afraid to go to trial against him and instead settle with him. Otherwise, they might have to share some of their nefarious methods and have those published in legal briefs. And I think they are scared of that. So the plot thickens as far as I'm concerned. If you get proper legal counsel involved, and if they can prove some of this out, I think that could be very interesting. I shared a couple of video links. I will share those links for you all as well, and also the playlist link. And I basically said, please let Mr. EQ or legal counsel for NIO know. They can reach out for me for discussion. But I also said, basically, forward this on. You know, I'm fine if investor relations wants to read it, but I expect it to be forwarded on. And by the way, for those, if I know some of you have reached out and talked to and had correspondence with NIO Investor Relations before, so I'll ask you this, drop it in the comments and let me know what your average kind of time frame for response from them is so that I have an idea of what to gauge. But my plan is really simple. I'm going to continue to be proactive now that I have the playlist and all these videos put together and so many data points. I mean, it would take, even if you took the time to watch the entire playlist, I don't know how many hours it would be, but what I've done is try to compile some of the highest level people across all areas of the business talking about it. So you can really go down the rabbit hole. But the benefit is I now have quick and easy access to these things myself. So if legal counsel for NIO, for example, and Mr. EQ and I end up, you know, doing some sort of correspondence, that will make it easier for me to point things out to them. I've got it on my Twixter right there. Step number one is become aware. And I think the legal counsel and William Lee, there's no way they could know all of the things that I've been digging into. There's just too much, and it's taken me a lot of time. So my goal is to make them aware, and then it's up to them to get a better understanding and then ultimately take whatever action they choose or choose not to take. But for them to not be aware means it could hurt everyone really involved. And so, and I'm not saying I think they should absolutely go after someone. I don't know that. My point is I want to get them enough data, enough information, and enough points that they can then do their own digging and determine what they want to do. Now, if I don't get let's call it an adequate follow-up from IR, from investor relations from NIO, or if I'm not satisfied or feel like I need to push a little more to make sure I get this information in front of them, talking about legal counsel and Mr. EQ, then I'll probably reach out to someone. I'll try to locate and find someone in the US, NIO Global, probably working for them, maybe the IR person here rather than overseas. I'm assuming when I wrote them, this went to the overseas, and that's fine. But I just want to make sure ultimately this gets in front of who it needs to get in front of so they can have that awareness and then make whatever decision they choose to make. But that's my thought. That's what I did and what I'm doing. Drop it in the comments. I want to hear from other people on this. Thanks for stopping by. Obviously, I threw a lot at you in this video, but I've been behind. I had other things going on, and obviously the power outage put me even further behind from even getting a delivery video out. So NIO stock, can we see $4? We can see it today. I don't know. Wait, what is it now? Hang on, I want to look now. 387, 25 million. See, I automatically go to the volume once I look. I'm like, okay, what's the trade volume though? Because I do think that is an indicator. When NIO stock ran, we saw probably an average of 80 to 100 million shares traded daily, day after day after day. So big volume is one of the things I'll be looking for when we do ultimately see an uptrend that starts and hopefully continues for a while. Anyway, all right, I'm done. Cut myself off. Have a great day. See you all again sooner or later, whenever I see you.